And then I love the idea of like setting up this concept. You know, it's sort of like when you're in a movie like where the husband goes off to war and he's dead and the wife moves on and then the husband appears.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Like, I'm fine. Like,
how do you deal with that?
Yeah, how do you deal with that? And that was kind of what I was super into that concept, you know, that, oh no, Superman can be brought back to life.
Zack Snyder had an intricate 5-film plan all built around Superman getting cucked. There's 2 versions of the sequel plans, one connected with the original Justice League script, and I mean original, like before Zack Snyder even started shooting, which were then presented in the Dreamscapes exhibition. Then there's a revised version after BVS's garbage reception, which we know less about, but we can deduce through interviews and different foreshadowing in the Snyder Cut.
What happened with Justice League is we had the original script was much darker and weirder. And then when Batman vs. Superman came out and the studio was like, it's not funny enough. People want funnier movies, they want funny stuff. We did go back, and I would say that Justice League, my cut of Justice League, is in between.
And the purpose for this video is for me to just dump all my research into something, because I might as well.
I want to see that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
One day.
Zack Snyder's obsessed with Joseph Campbell's Monomyth, and considering how all my early videos refer to it, good on you. It's a storytelling blueprint which describes a universal pattern found in myths and stories across cultures, where a hero leaves the familiar for a new frontier, comes home and is changed, and then you can keep it going.
Exhumes Superman from the grave.
We've all heard about how this is used in Star Wars and all the debates surrounding how legit Campbell's work is. Zack's vision for each installment was to reconstruct in order to deconstruct, so then he can reconstruct. Superman is born/reconstructed into a darker world, which is deconstructed with his death that inspires a brighter tone that literally reconstructs him from his resurrection. However, this heroic age is deconstructed through the petty drama of these gods who couldn't keep it in their pants.
And you took her from me.
I think in the original script, Lois and Batman got together, you know, briefly. There was like this whole, there was this whole other thing that everyone was like, oh my God, you can't do that. Because Superman was dead. I was like, you know, and Lois is a pretty amazing person. So like.
But it also brings her into the story in a way. It's complex,
like, she's
it's surprising.
Not really, her part in Justice League is really, we had written it, you know, especially since I had Amy, and Amy's like a genius. I really felt like we should lean on Amy, you know, because she's just a great actress and like a force of nature.
You can see this rhythm outlined in the whiteboards.
I mean, if you go to Dallas to the AT&T gallery where they graciously allowed me to put up some of my artwork and stuff, I put up the dry erase board that shows the 2-movie arc for what would have been the 2 more movies after this. Of course, a lot has changed, and those it aren't exactly, if I were to shoot it, it wouldn't look exactly like that now because there's just a lot of, you know, stories evolved, but it has a lot of the elements. And in the same way that those, like Lord of the Rings, they kind of have a conclusion.
Although originally pitched as one film, we believe the character arcs of our heroes and villains, along with the epic battle with Darkseid which unites the League, the world, and the entire DC universe, warrants 2 films. Let's begin. The vision of the first film starts from a peaceful place, a grounded character drama about the characters mending old wounds, before it descends into drama and consequences. They save lives, but they are refugees, so political tensions is high. The world is on edge. Weeks after the Justice League is formed, they're united in a divided world, so they go on a break.
Well, I'd really love to stay and clean up more mess, but this little superhero needs his breakfast.
Goodbye, Flash.
Superman asks Lois when she's gonna tell him about the pregnancy because he can hear the second heartbeat, but he also doesn't want her to call him Clark anymore, since he's publicly dead. You can see this idea set up in BVS, because why the hell did Zack show Clark's funeral only for Clark to immediately return in the next movie? Furthermore, in the original version of Justice League 1, Lois was supposed to have spent so much time helping Batman assemble the League that when Superman returns, it's not the same anymore between them. Superman himself is not the same too. He's more cold and distant. I imagine you wouldn't be able to tell the difference from Henry Cavill's usual Superman performance. He mistakes Lois's hesitation with fear, telling her he won't hurt her, but she's also hiding something from Batman, who she spends more time with as they hunt down Jesse Eisenberg, who's recruited Dr. Maru. She's prolonged her life through experimenting on human subjects and has dedicated everything in her life on the Amazons. Together, they break out Orn and Black Manta, while Leonard Snart is given even better tech. The sense of dread is intercut with the heroes just doing stuff.
Oh gosh!
In the deep Canadian wilderness, Batman finds Riddler. Lex presented the anti-life equation, the riddle of life itself, and the Riddler solved it. He knows what it can do, and once it's unlocked, Lex will make life meaningless. The Riddler raises a gun, but points it at his own head. Time to solve the last riddle. Blam! Batman's shocked as Riddler kills himself, while Lois discovers Dr. Moreau's lair in the Brazilian jungle and the existence of this team. On the bright side, Wonder Woman returns home after remembering the path using the lasso on herself. Barry's able to reopen his father's case and they reunite after his release, while Cyborg upgrades the Batcave, even providing a female AI voice for Alfred, who has become a father figure of sorts. What the f does that even mean? Aquaman and Amber Heard win an alliance with the Last Kingdom, the Unseen, and they eventually celebrate, having united Atlantis for the first time since it sank. But the joy is intercut with General Sandwick, who reveals to Lois Jesse Eisenberg has the 3 mother boxes, and at the 3 rivers, they're activated, giving him control of the anti-life equation. Cyborg's influx of data stops for the first time, and Assad arrives with Darkseid to take the equation. Batman is tasked with protecting Lois Lane as Superman leaves to fight, but then Bruce immediately argues with her. He knows she's pregnant, but she says it's not his, so he stops listening to her when she's trying to warn him about Jesse Eisenberg's plans. That is like the most un-Batman thing I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. But you see, in the original Justice League, Bruce was supposed to have fallen deeply in love with Amy Adams. As Zack Snyder said in Vanity Fair, we had this beautiful speech where Bruce said to Alfred, "I never had a life outside the cave. I never imagined a world for me beyond this. But this woman makes me think that if I can get this group of guards together, then my job is done. I can quit. I can stop." And of course, that doesn't work out for him. I'm not gonna lie, I completely hate this idea, but thankfully, in a strange case of good studio interference, Zack was stopped. So in the final version, Lois doesn't have time for an affair because she spends all of her time visiting Superman's monument every day. However, this contradicts why Superman specifically said,
And you took her from me.
you could say he said that in BVS because Bruce failed to protect Lois from Darkseid, but honestly, what the f is Batman gonna do against Darkseid? In fact, within these whiteboards, Bruce is specifically described as being too f***ing scared to move when Darkseid enters the Batcave.
I thought the bathroom was down here. I must have... That last martini was, too many.
Lex told Darkseid to kill Lois in order to control the Kryptonian, and that's exactly what happens, leaving Superman vulnerable to the anti-life equation. Dr. Moreau unleashes a chemical gas that covers Themyscira, killing herself and everyone, while Diana dies in her mother's arms. In the Snyder Cut, the flash forward features a different outcome. It's Darkseid arriving at her funeral, presumably to control everyone. Anyway, Orm and Black Manta kill Arthur during the coronation, while Amber Heard barely survives. This was also changed to just Darkseid killing Arthur himself, so I guess if these movies ever got made somehow, this entire ending of the first movie is literally just Darkseid killing each member of the Justice League like he's a f***ing slasher villain. Flash is able to survive his ambush because of Cyborg, who loses his bottom half. Batman then does the most Batman thing ever, and he runs away terrified, while Jesse Eisenberg declares victory before Darkseid sets him on fire. 5 years later, Gotham is the sand dunes we saw in BVS, and Bruce looks up grimly. We need to get inside before night. He's coming. Anyway, I just gotta say, imagine living in this other universe where we got more Henry Cavill Superman, but he continues to not smile and is the first Superman to be canonically cucked into villainy. This was the original version, however in the revised version, everything involving Nightmare Earth and its resolution is also contained into part 1, so then part 2 would be just the final battle and an epilogue, which sounds rather exhausting. Furthermore, the time skip was changed from 5 years to 2 years. We were introduced to this nightmare through Green Lantern's eyes. It was Hal Jordan in the original draft, then John Stewart in the revised. He crashes, unable to contact anyone on the entire planet. Everyone in the Corps are either missing or dead, and he came back looking for his partner. However, the situation is worse than anyone can believe. Stars are going out and time is running out. The only safe refuge is a base under Wayne Manor, which seems like it would be the first place Superman would search, but I guess it would make a cool visual. Batman has a plan. The hanging cyborg is plugged into something massive, the cosmic treadmill, which will allow Flash to jump back in time. However, this is an intricate process. They can only try once a year because Earth has to be in the same spot. Otherwise, he'll jump into space or solid bedrock.
Barry Allen was right here. And he said to me, Lois Lane is the key.
But to do this, they'll need a mother box. Also activating the machine will get Superman's attention. Batman's Misfit Nightmare League is Flash, Cyborg, Mira, and Green Lantern. In the revised version, which was then teased into the Snyder Cut, Deathstroke and Joker are also featured, but originally the criminal would have been Deadshot.
You might want to work on your team motivation thing. You heard of Phil Jackson?
He'd represent a more human perspective for the reason that across the world, everyone are possessed by the anti-life equation, a fate worse than death. And that includes his own daughter. The planet's alignment will be tomorrow night. Barry will travel back to warn Batman in a 10 to 15 second window before he's torn apart. The message will be, stop, Lex. However, behind closed doors, Bruce knows this won't work. He was already doing that. So he reveals something else in Barry's ear. And his eyes are wide open. Tell me that. It will change everything. At dawn, it's Fury Road meets superheroes. Batman, Green Lantern, Deadshot, and Mira breaks into a stronghold where human priests kneel before the Mother Box. Superman chases Batman's team. Deadshot fires a kryptonite bullet, but Superman avoids it. However, that wasn't the plan. Deadshot's plan was to buy Batman time through his own death when Superman flies into his tower. All he wanted was to make sure his daughter is saved. Mira tries to remove water from Superman but is crushed. Green Lantern's ring explodes from Superman's corrupted heat vision. Cyborg is tossed to the parademons who tear him apart as he activates a treadmill. When Flash runs, all that's left is Batman with the kryptonite spear. But then he's impaled by it. Flash succeeds just before Superman can reach him and he tells Bruce what he didn't hear before. Lois lied to you. You're the father. As a result, this time Bruce listens to Lois, because of course Batman always puts his feelings before his mission. They figure out Jesse Eisenberg's plans, however Darkseid still appears, but this time Bruce throws himself between him and Lois. Superman then arrives, enraged instead of heartbroken this time. He beats Darkseid into retreat. Lois passes him Lex's plans, so Superman is able to go stop Dr. Maru, Orm, Black Manta, and Snart, which wouldn't be necessary in the revised version because it was just Darkseid all the time. However, in the revised version, where this disgusting Batman and Lois affair is actually gone, Lois is in fact pregnant from Superman, which explains why in the Snyder Cut there's a baby cut at the end, why Batman says congratulations.
Congratulations, by the way.
Why she never interacted with Batman at all in that movie, and Joker's taunting is just about him failing another person in life again. However, this means Batman's entire arc is fundamentally different. The original big picture story was a tragedy. Batman transformed from being the most cynical man possible, someone who literally believed the light was a beautiful lie, but he got a taste of a different life.
I won't fail him in death.
Faith in humanity, friends, good health due to CrossFit, and for the first time, his nightmares stopped because someone gave him a future. In fact, in the original plans after the beams, he would have told Lois, I could have had a life outside of the cave with you, before he leaves in the Batwing for the coming battle. Looking like f***ing Palpatine. But his true love was an affair. Worse yet, he secretly fathered a child behind the god's back.
And it was that Lois was like, I'm still in love with Superman. You were kind of a thing, but then at that point Batman had already fallen in love with Lois and was like, okay, now I'm like...
Therefore, thematically, the Nightmare World was punishment for his affair. The light in his life was ultimately stolen, and humanity paid the price.
I hope the next generation of Waynes won't inherit an empty wine cellar.
In contrast, in the revised arc, apparently Flash's message would have been changed to, you have to save Lois, which means Batman's arc is instead about ascendance.
What makes you so sure?
Faith, Alfred. Faith.
The man who had no faith became a disciple of the god he once condemned. He recruited people in his name.
You ever hear of Superman? He died fighting next to me.
And put everything into resurrecting his god through his faith. Therefore, in the face of losing his god, instead of giving up, he journeyed through hell to restore him.
Not all the king's horses, nor all the king's men could. Alfred, for once, I'm operating strictly on faith, not on reason.
Apparently in this version he also would have apparently died from his wounds. So on a thematic level, the man who made God bleed bled for his god in the end. And on a character level, Bruce finds closure by not failing to save someone for once.
How many alternate timelines do you destroy the world? Because, frankly, you don't have the colonies to die yourself.
I'm not sure if this is religiously offensive, but it's really fascinating how there are two wildly different themes grown from BVS. One which puts a highlighter on Batman as a flawed human, an orphan who sacrifices himself for a son he'll never get to see. The other puts a highlighter on Batman as a godlike mythical protector who saved a mother from her destined fate. In a way, for the first time he actually got to stop the bullets. Obviously, this is also me analysing a version of the film from my own imagination. If this was actually made, it could just straight up suck, especially if Zack Snyder's using his new goddamn awful lens that makes everything look like it's been covered in grease. Anyway, Darkseid's full invasion begins, and it's too much for the Justice League to handle on their own, but they won't have to. Led and inspired by Superman, the countries of the world come together, armies, air forces, navies. Wonder Woman and her mother lead the Amazons off Themyscira to join the war. In the oceans, Aquaman leads the Seven Kingdoms, declaring there is an eighth, the surface world, and they must be allies, not enemies. The Seven Kingdoms rise to join the Amazons and the surface in a Lord of the Rings-like finale. The history of the three armies that first battled Darkseid echoes itself today. The world of men, the Amazons, and the Atlantean. As the battle continues, Green Lantern joins the fight along with the alien Green Lantern Corps. It's the entire DC universe together for the very first time on a scale unlike any that's ever been seen, battling to save the world together. During the battle, Hippolyta dies, saving her daughter, proud of what she's done. The Flash is able to move so quickly he masters his own powers, existing in two places at once. Unstoppable, he takes down an entire army himself. Cyborg is able to overpower the Mother Boxes, taking control of them and triggering a chain reaction that destroys them, weakening Darkseid. Darkseid's fate differs between versions. In the original one, the dying Batman sacrifices himself to save the world by killing Darkseid. In the revised version, it's fucking Jesse Eisenberg. In the extended epilogue, Diana becomes queen of the Amazons, and they rejoin the world, creating peace between countries. Arthur is recognized as the true king. Cyborg becomes a god of the digital age. He even looks human again. In the original version, Superman realizes Lois is carrying Bruce's child, but he doesn't shy away. He has a reason to be Clark Kent again. I assume in the revised version, he's like, cool dude, it is my baby, and I'm already Clark. I guess it's business as usual. The final note in both versions of the story, we end on 20 years later. Crime returns to Gotham for the very first time, so Lois brings Bruce Kent, a dude with no powers, to the Batcave, where he becomes a new Batman. If you cut this epilogue out, I'd totally be up for Justice League 3 or 2A as it was said on the whiteboards. The Snyderverse is structured around cycles, where people are united, but then divided.
How many thousands of years since our people spoke?
I don't know.
Then Superman rose as a mythical figure in a divided, cynical world. He was torn down, but from the pieces came others who then rose like him, and they would be torn down like him. But they would rise again even greater. They beat fate, they beat division, they beat my dick off. The story would then reset again. It's the Monomyth, where the same story is renewed. In fact, apparently Snyder passed around a Flashpoint movie too, in order to literally reset the entire timeline afterwards.
You're not Batman?
I do find it hilarious that Zack Snyder is very adamant that there must be a new Batman at the end, which directly defies one of the core aspects of the character, which is that Bruce is actively trying to make a world that won't need him. Batman's greatest achievement was ensuring Dick Grayson wouldn't end up like him, but I guess Dick is dead in this continuity, and the Monomyth cycle is more existentially important than Batman's feelings. I don't know what's worse, Superman getting cocked or Superman not getting cocked, but somehow his son still doesn't inherit his superpowers despite the whole codex being inside him in this version. Superman's son becoming Batman is also like amazing. If only Batman could somehow go back in time and sleep with Laura and reveal he's actually Superman's dad this whole time too.
I did a mistake, that's all.
I didn't know where to put this paragraph, so I might as well put it at the end. I feel like I gotta clarify my position on the DCEU and Zack Snyder because I make fun of him as much as I like talking about themes in his work. That's because I like making fun of him as much as I enjoy talking about themes in his work.
But,
this can sound weird, but I genuinely love Zack Snyder. He's a beautiful man with a beautiful soul and even more beautiful arms, so I'm actively rooting for him. Unlike the Snyder Bros, I was actually there for Rebel Moon. Little did I know how it'd turn out.
And I found a new family who showed me another way.
I really think he's a true once-in-a-generation talent in regards to illustration, photography, and testicles in terms of just going for it and putting his own stamp on things. However, this talent in regards to DC is not exactly complimentary because his own twist doesn't come from having something personal to say about these characters. It specifically comes from being an outsider, jumping at a great career opportunity. Because when you listen to the man talk, his main interest isn't Superman or even superhero comics. It's heavy metal, Excalibur, Conan. It's why homie keeps misremembering Dark Knight Returns. He probably read it once on the toilet or something. Thus, of course, when he's in the position of being the main architect of DC movies, he'd make something super macho and more closely resemble Heavy Metal and Excalibur, while getting most of the characters completely wrong.
You don't know this world a thing.
The result is an epic myth that, unlike the MCU, would have been a tight multi-film story that prioritized a strong singular voice over broad appeal. And a part of me kinda loves that. It's art over commerce, even if it means there's loads of counterproductive and alienating creative choices. However, it is this great epic that doesn't build from the best of these characters. Batman killed people. Superman is a personality-less, stoic robot, and the whole drama would have been about one cucking the other. I mean, even if the revised version was made, Henry Cavill still would not be given much to do because it'd be all about Batman. Therefore, I had a real love-hate relationship with these plans, until James Gunn's Superman film, and I saw pop culture embrace real Superman again. I didn't feel stuck with the Snyderverse version anymore, so now I can appreciate it as what it is, a weird anomaly in all of these characters' cinematic history. A decade-long digression that made everyone excited for tradition again, and showed us the cinematic potential of these characters. In an odd way, the Monomyth still happened again. And I'm glad it happened.
This is all you're gonna get from Zack Snyder's DCEU. And so, the reality is I didn't think we'd do this.
It'd be pretty cool if these plans got to be made into an animated movie or something. Mostly because it will save us all from Gal Gadot's acting.
Kal-El, no!
I was out of town to find myself a way to get myself out of this world. You were not about, and I blame myself. I should have blamed myself, but that's what I've heard.
So this is the Snyderverse video. I sort of just had this video in production literally in the background for years. I fell into a massive rabbit hole when the Snyder Cut came out back in 2021, and then my channel became all about the DCAU, so I just decided to finally make the video now. And it just so happened I finished it this week. Anyway, thanks to everyone on Patreon, and have a week!
Say